Yeah. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the intro. And interesting to see that that I'm the boss of your housemate. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about how we rethink work. You already introduced myself, so I'm not going to do that anymore. But I'm going to start a little bit talking about how I felt when I was young and when I wanted to work. And I had a few things that I knew about. And one thing of that was that I wanted to have freedom and autonomy when I was going to start working. And that was something that everybody in my generation also wanted. And I also wanted a purpose to do the things. I didn't care about money. I knew money was going to come anyways. It was more about, like, why am I doing the things that I do? And I also believed that people were all equally worth. There weren't like a boss that was higher worth than somebody else, but actually everybody was equally worth. And also that time was the most important resource, because time is the thing that is the most limited right now that you have. So all the attention I get from you, it's really great that I have you here, because most of you are probably already working on the cell phones, doing other things. So actually having attention is really the most important resource. And that wasn't only me feeling that way, but actually a bunch of people. And if you compare that to the regular work environment where you have this guy over there, and this guy is a typical manager that you see. He's micromanaging you, he's dictating you what to do, he's commanding you. So it's actually exactly not what I was looking for, and not basically what our generation wants. But it's rather something that is an experience that I had, which was called Startup Bus, which is a hackathon, a 72-hour hackathon where you drive on a bus, you start a product, you design a prototype, and you actually launch it, and all this in 72 hours. And I've never seen people that were that motivated and dedicated. They'd worked 72 hours straight, slept a little bit, really little, and that was something that I wanted to recreate in a company, that you have that. Maybe not with just no sleep, because that's not going to work on a permanent level, but with regular normal sleep, but that motivation is what I wanted to see. So I figured out, is there other companies that have been doing similar things? Is there like some organizations that you could rebuild such things? And I ended up finding Zappos, for instance, or other companies that have a different approach how to organize a company, not a classical hierarchical model, but rather self-organizing model. And there's other companies that do that too, like Valve, like game computer company that some of you might know. And so that was something that said, okay, awesome, so people are doing exactly that. They're providing that environment. So how can I do that now with myself? Well, I had that wish to wanted to reproduce that, but at the end, the reality was a little bit different, because I didn't have my own company. I was working for another company. I was part of the first employees there. It was called Terrendo, an e-commerce shop, and it was a great company. I loved it. We had a great culture. We're 150 people. We grew really fast. But it was really hard to enforce the culture that I really wanted with a self-organizing system. And so one lucky thing happened is that we sold the company. So for me, that was a moment to think about, what do I want to do now? Do I want to stay there, or would I take that chance? Would I find somebody that has a similar approach to culture and build something with him together? And so, well, exactly that happened. Who came along? Well, a buddy of mine, Frank, who should also be sitting here somewhere, over there. He basically, we were just sitting there and we were talking, and he told me about a friend that moved to Frankfurt, moved to an apartment there, and had been living there for a few months. He had visited him, but the apartment was almost still empty, so he hadn't really managed to furnish anything. And, well, we figured, why not? And he told us, well, you know, all day at IKEA, Möbelhöfner, this is not really what he wanted to do. And then when he found something, even online, he didn't know if the quality was good or if it made sense, basically, in the whole big picture of an interior concept. And so we figured, well, you know, an interior designer, it solves your problem. But then, though, we figured, well, you know, an experienced designer is really, really expensive. And we figured, couldn't we make an interior designer affordable for people and make it accessible to everyone? And so that was kind of the idea that we had. Then Frank and me knew each other really well, so we had the same approach to culture, and we figured this is exactly the moment, the perfect moment, so that we could actually start our own company in the culture that we wanted, with the elements that we wanted to do. And so we started 99 Shares. Which brings us to the elements of saying, so what actually is a great culture? What do you need to have a great culture? And from what I've read, from the experience from others, there's a few elements that are important. So, like our generation, we want a purpose, so you need a purpose for your company. You need a certain way of work, defining, okay, this is how we want to work. And you need a set of values that help you align to make decisions and that guide you. And last but not least, you need an operating system, so a structure and processes that are fair and enable you to do the things the way you want it to do. So what's the purpose from us? What do you want to do? We want to enable everyone to have a happy and purposeful life by providing them with well-designed spaces. So we want people to have a purpose. We want to help them get a purpose to achieve something in life, and while having that purpose, being happy. We also said, what's the way we want to work together? And we said, well, we wanted to have a lot of freedom and autonomy. We wanted to give that to people. So they should decide how they want to work, when they want to come to work, when they want to leave, if they want to do home office, that it should be completely free, as long as there's two things that are kept in mind. One of the things is that you have to be responsible. So we want to treat you like an adult. We don't want to take care about you, but you should take care about yourself. And that's really important, to own your shit and to take care about your stuff. And the second thing, of course, is that we want you to make your decisions, but we want to give you something to help decide. Because we'll have a million new decisions, we won't know what's the best decision, but one thing that we can give you are values, and those will help you guide. And so if you act according to your values, then you should be free to choose to do what you want. So now that we talked about values, and we need to define those values, that was really important. So Frank and me sat together really early when we started, and we decided that what is actually important to us. With the core team of the beginning, we created a set of values, of 10 values, that help us guide. I'm just going to quickly go through a few of them, because 10 is going to take too much time right now, I guess. So one of the important values is build open and honest relationships. So for us, it was really important that we said we wanted to be friends and partner. We wanted to be friends in our company, with the teams, also with partners, with customers, with everybody. Be transparent, honest, and don't lie to them. But while you sit there all day at work, and it's a lot of work, you sit there quite a few hours, well, you shouldn't forget that it's fun. You should celebrate success. You should embrace people that are fun, and don't be too stubborn about things, but just enjoy your day, enjoy life. But also, it's quite challenging. We're starting a new venture. Success rates are quite low, that you actually succeed. And how can you succeed? Well, you need to work hard. So it was sure for us that we're passionate, we want to work hard. We're shooting for the moon, not just basically the next country, but we're going to the moon on Mars. And Frank and me are jokingly a lot of the times that actually we're going to change that to shooting for Mars, because a lot of people are already going to Mars, and the moon is boring. And last but not least, when you have a purpose, you have a way of work, and you have your values, you still need a system that basically enables people. And so that system is a system not in the hierarchical model where you have somebody that commands you things, but a system that is structured with circles and roles, where you have certain roles that take care about things, and each of these roles has a purpose, so a reason why it exists, domains, what's the resources that it owns, and accountabilities, what it takes care of. So for instance, a website manager is taking care that the website is running. And that way, what you do is you have an agile organization that the roles and circles, they change based on your requirements. So every 2 weeks, we have workflow meetings where people basically talk about, is the current set of roles and circles still the way that it should be and that it helps, or do we need to restructure everything? And so you have kind of an agile organization compared to the normal model where you have job descriptions that you change once a year and say, okay, this is my job, this is what I'm doing, I'm not doing this because this is not my job description. Then you have to actually update the contract and all these things. Here you have an agile model. Then a second thing that was relevant for that is that you delegate responsibilities to the local level, which means to the roles. So you've seen that roles have accountabilities, so that's what they're basically responsible for, and nobody can tell them how to do these things, but they actually have to decide themselves. Of course, they get feedback. It's not like an anarchy where they just do whatever they want, but it's rather they get feedback from others, but at the end, it's their own choice to decide what to do. And then one more thing that's really important is transparency and fair processes. So we don't want like a boss that basically decides what to do, but actually we have fair processes in place that enable these things. So take one process that we have, for instance, hiring. So it's not Frank or me that hire. Legally, we could, of course, and we have to sign, but it's actually a team of 5 people that have been involved in the hiring process that then make a decision if that person should be hired. And if one person has a veto, being saying basically, no, I don't like him, I had like some kind of red flags, and I really don't like him to be in our team, well, we won't add him to our team. So summarizing is that if you want basically an environment where people are happy, where people can thrive and have a purpose, so work towards a common goal, you need to think differently. You don't have to think in a classical model, but actually rethinking the way. A lot of companies have already done it, and we're also going that way. And it's making a lot of fun. And I think the numbers and everything are showing that it also works. Thanks a lot.
Cool, cool. Cool, we have a few minutes for questions. I'm going to ask one that I know of. You recently went to Paris? Not to Paris, to France, sorry.
Yes, we did.
That's correct. That costs money, right?
Depends.
Yeah. How do you validate those kind of expenses for your company?
So it sounds more expensive than it was. So we do that every quarter. We take the whole team and we go somewhere else. And then we talk about the next quarter, and we plan that together. There again, it's not Frank and me who are planning, but actually the whole team that is planning. And so you got to believe in these things. It's hard to measure them. You're not going to see, like, basically saying, OK, if I invest that much money here, what's going to happen? But we just believe in it. And then coming back to France, the flight was 40 euros back and forth, so wasn't that expensive.
OK. Good old Ryanair. Cool. So we have time for some crowd questions. Anyone want to throw their hand up? One there in the middle. Where my catch box is? There we go. Cool. Ask away.
Hey.
Hey.
I just read an article this morning about how millennials now are starting to not only be in the workforce, but being bosses as well, and managing teams where there are baby boomers, for instance. Do you think, like, I find the culture that you built awesome, but do you think it works with all generations? How do you think baby boomers react to this?
Good question.
So I think, our team, we're all in the younger generation, so definitely it works for us. I haven't seen, if you look at Zappos, they also have a lot of older employees, different generation, and it works for them. So I'm assuming it works. Some of them might maybe not be open to this kind of work, so it's really hard to adjust. So if somebody has had 30, 40 years of experience in a hierarchical model, it's a really big change. But I think it's definitely something that makes sense, and that he'd be open for it, and if he's willing to try, it will work with him. But for some, of course, they're maybe too used to things that they're not open to work in such an environment.
Who is your oldest employee?
Who's the oldest one? Yeah, I think it's you, Frank.
Sorry. All right. Anyway, I'll stop asking questions and let the crowd do that. We have time for one more question. There in the standing zone.
Thanks. Hi. How do you identify the right people for your roles?
You mean as soon as we've hired them, or when we're hiring them?
Well, when they are already in the company. I mean, roles probably always change, right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So how are you managing this?
Yeah. So when somebody is there, you know the people that you work with. We were 46 people right now, so we're not 3,000. It will probably change a lot, the system, when you're 3,000 people, on how to actually best fit. But right now it has been quite easy to actually, just because you know the people, to see who's the best person for that role. So there's not much more about that right now, compared to when we talk about hiring, and we know we're looking for an engineer or whatever. We have a quite sophisticated hiring process where we check all the values and the skills and everything we need to see if it actually fits our role.
Interesting. Cool. All right. I'm going to go out on a limb and say one more question. Come on. We can do it. I believe in you. Down here at the front.
Thank you. Just the question regarding to the size of the company, the circle structure in your mind, how long, so which size, middle size or corporate level, which size is the one that you would rethink this structure wouldn't work anymore, or I have to rethink the structure itself?
Yeah. So before Zappos, which is the biggest company that implemented some kind of self-organizing system, at least that I know of, there might be others, there are 3,000 employees, so that works at the size of 3,000. So I'm quite convinced this can go unlimitedly. But of course you need like a good system that structures everything, where like kind of an intranet where you see who's responsible for what. So we actually can manage to take care of who who's responsible for what topic.
Alrighty, cool. Big round of applause for Julian.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.